Welcome to the What's Your Truth podcast, the show that not only showcases the best of independent artists, but also explores what inspires them, what drives them, and what they consider their fundamental purpose as an artist to be. On the show today, we have Alex Calder. I met Alex a few years back, and the one thing that immediately grabbed me about him was his sheer enthusiasm for helping others. A friend of mine brought me over to his booth at the NAMM show, telling me all about this thing called a Slidewinder Ring that I had to check out. From the get-go, Alex was one of the sweetest people I've ever met, and he's also the sole and only reason I am able to play slide guitar. As his incredible invention, the Slidewinder Ring, combines science and style into a sonic solution that not only takes the mystery out of slide playing, but also opens up the boundaries of what is possible with slide playing, creating a true sky is the limit reality for musicians. And then there's Alex the musician. Talk about a mad scientist. If you haven't followed him on Instagram yet, you really do need to find out. At over 12,000 subscribers, this page not only showcases those who have found the holy grail that is Slidewinder Rings, it's also Alex's platform to showcase his own playing as he demos the possibilities of his invention. Combining technique, effects, and of course his rings, Alex takes the meaning of the term sonic architect to whole new heights and realms and is one of the most innovative musicians I've seen in my lifetime. More than that, Alex is one of the most genuinely cool people I've ever known and an absolutely incredible friend. It's an absolute joy having him on the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Alex Calder.
Wow, that's a lot to live up to, Johnnie, but I will do my best. And thanks. That's high praise. I'm really glad that you found the Slidewinder Ring to be as rewarding as I have. As I've always kind of joked that I'm always going to be my own best customer. So just a little sample. I actually wear them. I play them all the time. These are a couple of models. You've seen things similar. There's the business end of it. It's powerfully magnetic, as you know, and it kind of plays itself, allowing you to play all your fingers. So I don't want to turn this into an ad for Slidewinder Ring, but as long as we're talking about it, people might as well know what it looks like and its basic functionality. There you go.
100%. Awesome. Well, let's get into it, shall we?
Sure.
All right. So, Alex, how did you decide you wanted to become a musician?
Oh boy. Well, I come from a musical family, and my mother very early on said, not do you want to play an instrument, but what instrument do you want to play? And she gave us all choices, all of us kids. I come from a ridiculous talented family, very little of which talent I inherited personally. However, I do enjoy music, and I joined the grade school band and took all the way through high school. And then after that, I found that I really do enjoy it. I was not very good at trumpet, but I was pretty good enough to stay in the band. But I miss playing and performing, and I really had that joy and that connection with the audience that never gets old. And so in high school, after high school, that happened, and I started listening to a lot of rock and roll, a lot of guitar music, and it sounds so cliche to say it, but yes, when I first heard "Stairway to Heaven," I said that's got to be my instrument, guitar, and it was. So that song really opened my eyes. And then hearing the Boston album, the first Boston album, was like, wow, if you can do that with guitars, wow, what can you not do? And it really turned my ear to this direction.
Incredible. Right on, man. And then what was the first experience you remember having with music?
Well, with music, I'm sure it was in the womb. My mother used to sing. My mother's got a phenomenal, like, classical voice, a soprano, and she used to sing all these Mozart arias and like the most beautiful, like, music ever written, and still to this day, like.
Yeah.
That was her voice, right? And she was just, I heard that in the womb. So I had such a sense of the one thing I do have. I don't know. I don't want to say it's a gift, but it's certainly a thing that works well with me is melody. Like, I hear a melody and it speaks to me, and I can memorize things in melody form. I can create melodies all day long. And rhythm, of course, too, is a very important component to music, as we all know, and harmony and all the other things, of course. But for me, it's always been melody driven. So when I hear a melody, I can remember it, I can play it, I can create melody. So I'm always melodically driven. So songs that have catchy melodies, like in the old days, it was Earth, Wind, and Fire, and all the classic '70s stuff that Peter Frampton. they were all melody driven songs, and that really grabbed me. And that's true to this day. I never lost that connection with melody.
Amazing. And then who are the biggest influences on your work and why?
That's a good question. So obviously, Stairway to Heaven, Jimmy Page, right? For
Mhm.
sure. And, also Jimi Hendrix, the other Jimmy,
Mm.
was the reason the Slidewinder came into being. When I heard this all along the Watchtower and how he does that slide part, I figured he's got some secret ring, or he just grabbed a tube, something like that,
Yeah, yeah.
and I didn't know what he did. Turns out he didn't do either one. He actually overdubbed it. I found that out later from reliable sources. But in the meantime, I decided to reverse engineer this guy, and that turned out to be the wrong answer, but the correct solution to that problem.
I was gonna say it sounds like a hell of a solution. I bet if he had something like this back in the day, he would have done a lot more with slide playing.
Wow, man, I can only imagine what he would do. And that's what's exciting about this today is that, there are people that can take this to levels that they don't think of themselves as slide players like yourself, and they try it out and they think, oh, I didn't know I could do tapping with it. Not even Jimmy probably would have imagined that, but had someone like him pick this up and work with that, I mean, who knows what's possible, especially on the right hand. I have to say the right hand is so underrated. The only person that I've seen, actually two people I've seen use slide on the right hand, one is Jeff Beck. And sad to say he's gone, but he was a huge influence on me. Speaking of influences, he
Yeah.
is famous for doing, he does this kind of like above the fretboard, which I call the stratophonic zone, the part from the end of your frets to the saddles, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the inspirations and things like that. Really, I guess I got into guitar, of course, Boston, the first album. I think Tom Scholz is one of the most underrated guitarists out there. The way he sings with a vocal quality, and that's one of the things about slide too. And as far as I know, Tom Scholz never used slide, but he had a vocal quality of that, and that's what attracts me so much about the tonality of the instrument of a guitar. Is you can make it sound and inflect the same way that a vocalist might use in pitch and vibrato and attack and decay, all these subtle differences. It's not just a guitar playing power chords. It can be really emotive, and I really love that part. Another reason why I'm a huge fan of Jeff Beck is he had probably better than anyone that capability of making it vocal like that.
Totally. Absolutely. So what's the weirdest thing that's ever inspired you?
Oh, that's a good question. My goodness, that's a good question. Um, the weirdest thing. Nothing immediately jumps to mind, but I know I've had weird things happen to me. Let me ask you this. Do you mean inspiration wise or musically or?
It's really whatever it means to you. It can be anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
It's your interview,
well,
man.
well. So I did see the movie Crossroads.
Okay. You mean the
And
Britney Spears movie or
what's that?
the Britney Spears movie?
Yeah. Oh no. With Steve Vai and Ralph Macchio.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I
Where
know.
they had that guitar duel,
Yeah.
and there's a whole story about selling his soul to the devil, and of course that's been repeated multiple generations. Paganini was supposed to have done that. Faust was supposed to have done that. Apparently that's an old recycled story. However, the movie was all about that, and about supposedly Robert Johnson going down to the crossroads at Highway 61 and Highway 49, I think it was, in Mississippi, which I've been to. I've actually been to the real crossroads
Wow.
and hung out for a little while, and nobody showed up. So I kind of had to get my money back on that deal. But nevertheless, that duel scene where they do the guitar duel
Mhm.
was just monstrous. Steve Vai was absolutely terrifying to me. The idea of ever like facing somebody like that on stage was beyond anything I could ever. And I'm not a what's the right word? A competitive person in that sense. I don't want to have a guitar duel. I'd rather have a conversation. That's more interesting to me. And the irony there is that I actually did have a chance to play on stage with Vi a couple of times, and he approaches it that way. He's not trying to cut your head off. He's really trying to like have a conversation with you, and he's an inspiration in a huge way. His album, Passion Warfare, just completely flipped my mind around in so many interesting directions. That and Jeff Beck's Wired album, I think, are the two finest examples of instrumental guitar music where they make it such an adventurous journey to listen to any of those compositions. They're extraordinarily rich and varied and layered, and just like literally taking an auditory journey somewhere and coming back and realizing that, wow, you've seen some things, heard some things that are extraordinary. So the music does that for me, and I so enjoy that about music. For me, I'm so addicted to that.
Right on. And then how has your work influenced other people?
Well, I generally don't think much about that actually, but it turns out apparently it has. Um, yeah, when people pick up the Slidewinder Ring, everyone approaches it differently. This is quite interesting, and I'm able to sometimes cop ideas from famous people or even not so famous people, but everyone usually invents something new with it that I will borrow, and I always give people credit. I've had many people like show me something and they say, "Oh, I see how this works," and "Oh, wow, look at that sound," and I would say, "Wow, I've not heard that before." So I would put that in my quiver, so to speak, and then I would show other people that, and I would always point back to the person that showed me that particular trick.
Hmm.
And there's a whole bunch of them. I could have a whole series of videos on that, tricks people have shown me. But then I share it with people and I say, you know what, if you come up with one of your own invention sounds, ideas using a Slidewinder Ring, we'll name it after you. I'll give you credit, show me, and I'll make sure people know it was your idea, not mine. And so I've gathered all these ideas, which is really fun. And that's, if anything, I've helped spread these different ideas around. Not so much that I've created all of them, although I've created quite a few myself, but everybody creates their own. And I share those. And I love doing that because it opened people's eyes to, oh, I had no idea you could do this. And we're nowhere close to seeing where this goes in
Oh,
terms of the universe.
no, I mean, like I said, it really is a sky is the limit thing. I mean, who
Right.
knows if we'll ever see the logical end of this?
No,
So,
that's, yeah.
yeah, totally. So, what risks, if any, have you personally taken for the sake of your craft?
Well, that's a good one because I'm fully committed. This has never been like I looked to an exit strategy. Not that I'm opposed to somebody throwing tens of millions of dollars and saying let's buy your invention for whatever price. I'd have to consider it, but my inclination is no. I like this too much for now. I'm definitely, people are interested in investing in Slidewinder. I think it's a good investment, and we have many great opportunities for massive marketing and profit. So I don't want to say no to that. But that's probably been the biggest one. Is it does take money to launch a business, as anyone knows who's ever done that. And a lot of things are not free. You have to hire people for social media. You have to hire people you hired some people to make our logo and to do some of our marketing. And I have a background in marketing, so I can certainly handle a lot of that. But I don't have a background in a lot of like tech stuff and social media. So I've had to hire people to do that. And they've done a very good job. But that's one of the demands that no matter how successful the ring is, I still need to have role players help out in these various ways.
Definitely makes sense. And then, what's the craziest risk you've ever seen another artist take for their craft?
Wow. Well, I think if you're a touring musician now or a recording musician and then planning to tour on top of that, I think that's crazy in a good way, but you have to be so committed now because unfortunately the industry has taken away some of those normal standardized revenue streams for recording musicians and touring musicians. And those who are still committed, I give them my full props and credit that it takes a lot of guts to really be fully committed to that, especially when the revenue streams dry up and you're still committed to it. Those are the people I really admire. I don't have that fear because I'm not relying upon recording or touring. I'm relying upon sales, so it's a different business model, as you know.
Sure.
But I respect those who are on the other side of it, which is the creation of the music and the touring and playing live. I really miss live performances more than anything, and I admire those people for sure.
Right on. Yeah, and I was actually talking to somebody else about this on an interview of how like after COVID, like it's not just coming back after COVID, it's the fact that there's like a third of the venues available and all the musicians are coming back at once looking for an opportunity to play. So it's like finding gigs can be tough right now for guys from what I'm hearing, because for
Yeah.
that reason, it's like there's so much demand and very little supply as far as venues go.
That's concerning. Although obviously the people who are still doing it are ever more dedicated as a result of that condition.
Sure. No, 100%.
But I always want people to be performing live, and I will welcome any artist who says that they would like to try our rings to try it live. I've had some conversations today, as a matter of fact, with several artists who've contacted me through Instagram. And you're right, that is our primary social media, if you will.
Yeah.
Is Instagram. I don't do Facebook at all. That's a long story. I'll leave it there. But I have a few videos on YouTube, not much, but Instagram is our main social media thrust at this point. So anybody who wants to direct message me through Instagram and try rings out or ask questions, I'm very available. I want to make myself available, even for coaching sessions to current customers. If you want to have a few tips, or you're not finding it easy to use as much as you'd like, it's easy to use, but you can use it wrong too. So I want to offer that.
100%. That's awesome. And then what's one thing about you that would shock everyone to know?
Only one?
Hey, it's your interview, and you want to give me 10, you give me 10.
So this always surprises people. There's two skills that I have that are very not assuming of myself. I'm a martial arts expert. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo. I've won medals and trophies. I can defend myself. I can take, if somebody gets up in my face, which happened today.
Oh, no kidding. Really?
Really? No, but
You're like the nicest guy ever. Who would ever do that?
well, somebody who's not so nice, but that's a long story. I told you the sheriff came over here early. We'll leave that alone. But I will defend myself only if I'm attacked. It did not get to that, did not escalate to that, fortunately, but I can defend myself and I don't look like I can. So that's always useful to have in my bag. The other thing I can do is I can throw a hatchet like murderously accurate. Point in from any distance within 50 feet, I can nail a target. If it's got a fly in the middle on the bullseye, the fly is dead. So that's a long story. I practiced that. But yeah, nobody would expect that of me, I'm pretty sure.
You are right. I am thoroughly shocked. I didn't know these things, and I've known you for how many years now? It's been a while. Shifting gears a bit,
Yeah.
what's the one thing or the one tool that you absolutely cannot live without as an artist, and why?
Well, the obvious one is the Slidewinder Ring. I do feel naked without it. That being said, I don't have many hardline requirements with that. I've been getting into backing tracks recently. So instead of playing by myself, so I have these little, devices and gizmos to download stuff from YouTube, which is really rich with backing tracks. For me, when I'm just playing for myself for fun, I do like to have a backing track. So that's become a necessary, just fun practice tool, you might say.
Right on. Very cool. And then what has been the most difficult thing for you to create, and why?
As ironic as this might seem, the Slidewinder Ring, it looks simple, but it took me literally 30 solid years of focused trial and error. And that's why I look at other people's inventions and I say, yeah, I invented that on the way to this. And I look at all the other, because this is a problem. It's a perennial, universal problem. Anytime you put one of these on your finger, you lose kind of your whole hand. And I know people say, well, Derek Truck sometimes uses, like, yeah, dude. How long did it take? And he still can't use his whole hand. So for me, it had to be absolutely non-destructive. It had to be like you can use your whole hand and you get all this great sound. And it's considered impossible, actually. Most people consider that the holy grail of any kind of device that allows you to play slide and use your whole hand, it's considered actually impossible. And for 30 years while I was trying to do it, it was impossible. I've literally invented every other version that I see out there decades before I arrived at the breakthrough, several breakthroughs that made the Slidewinder Ring possible. So that's an easy one. The Slidewinder Ring was no joke to get here.
Wow. Yeah, and I knew you put a lot into it. I didn't realize it was 30 years. My God. What, talk about a life's work.
It really was. And I kind of I had many stops and starts. I would try, a lot of different ideas. And I have a pretty vivid imagination. So you can imagine some of the things I tried. And I've got literally bins full of, failed experiments.
Prototypes and such.
But I'm happy that we're here and we're not done yet. There's another trajectory here from generations that this is just the start of. So there's a ton of opportunity for other iterations, and that's always challenging and always fun too.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. So here's a fun question for you. If you were going to write a book about your career up to this point, what would you title it?
The real life Forrest Gump, because I've lived when I watched that movie, I'm like, wow, that's actually pretty familiar territory. I don't want to get into my whole other career, which is not music and not inventing. Well, I've been inventing all my life, but my real career is biomolecular medical science in the highest level of that career as far as it could take you. I've been very fortunate to be at the pivotal point in technology of anything regarding DNA, RNA, proteins, cells, or anything living. I have lived a Forrest Gump-like life, which I would never take back. But people have told me I need to write a book, but I'm too busy making next iteration of Slidewinder Ring. Maybe I'll get to that, or maybe I won't. But life has never been boring to me ever. So
Yeah,
I'm very, very grateful for that. Really
awesome. And I definitely get that. You strike me as the opposite of having a boring life. You're an exciting guy. So on that vein, what are your plans for world domination?
Well, so it does start with good question. I like that, because not so much domination, but I do want to completely develop the possibilities of this ring, and that does include we've developed recently a wholesale model, which is these are real pieces of jewelry. These are made by real jewelers in Nepal. However, we can also make an equally high performing version using the parts that they send us from Nepal and making a stripped down version of this that is very wholesalable, if that's a right word.
Sounds right.
Wholesalable and scalable, which means that we have been contacted by fill in the blank, everyone from Yamaha, Guitar Center, Ernie Ball, Fender, Gibson, Ibanez, you name it, including Sweetwater and Sam Ash. So my goal to make this easily available is to make a version that's very affordable, very high performance, but available at your local Guitar Center or Sweetwater or online with us or anywhere in the world, Sam Ash, whoever. I mean, we do have European distributorship ready to go at this point. So in terms of world domination, we've seen demand from literally every country you can name. Pretty much we've sold rings to. So it is a universal appeal for sure. And I would like to make sure that that's available, because shipping expenses from the US are high. But if we can set up small distributorships in all these places, especially through some of the chain stores that every country has, their chain guitar store,
Right.
a wholesale version, I could die happy knowing that, hey, anybody can walk down to their local guitar store anywhere in the world, get a fully functioning, high performance, authentic Slidewinder Ring, and have as much fun as I'm having. That is my dream right there.
That's so awesome. And one last question before we wrap up the interview here. So, and just to revisit my introduction a little bit.
Sure.
So again, this show, it showcases the best of independent artists, but it also explores what inspires them, what drives them, and what they consider their fundamental purpose as an artist to be. So Alex, what's your truth?
Yes, well, that's a great question. I love that. And something immediately springs to mind. I would call it the aha moment. When I first finally figured out the right formula, the right angle of the bar, the magnetism, the correct strength, the orientation of where it is on the finger, when it finally all came together, And I had that big aha. Oh, I've cracked the code. I have figured this out. I did not sleep for 3 days. It was 30 years of I never thought I would get here, and here I am. It was so exciting that feeling I want to share with other people. So when I show it to somebody for the first time and they're in front of me and they're okay, where do I wear this? And okay, middle finger right there, right in the middle, and fold your hand and do all this. And oftentimes especially if they're two players, they will straighten their hand. No, don't do that. Keep it bent like that. They will, paint. I always wear it on the pinky. Well, this is different. This is not a tube. So once I make the basic corrections and they relax and they finally have that moment, and you see their whole face just light up, and they catch fire, and they're like, oh, I get it. That never gets old, because I had that feeling when I first. It was like this. Oh my goodness! Wow, this opens up everything I could never imagine being opened up, and I'm ready to go. And when I share that feeling, and it happens all the time when I first introduce this to people, it happened to you.
I was just gonna say, I've had this moment. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. And I remember that because you were like, no, dude, I don't play slide. No, I've tried. No, it's just not for me. And I've tried a bunch of other things. But no, you are the right person because you've tried exactly like me. I'm my own best because I did that profile too. It's like, I love the sound, but it's so difficult. And I got to give up my hand, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I get it. And he goes, but this is not for me. I'm like, it is for you. and we remember
I remember this day very well. It's a day that I will probably remember for the rest of my life because it was a life-changing day for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, and your whole face, oh
yeah. I was like,
right?
What just happened?
Yes. So that's my answer to you, is that as many people as I can have and share that experience that I had and you had, that gets me out of bed every day and ready to do that more, for sure.
That is incredible. What a great answer, and what a great end to the interview. So before we do end off, I did want to take 60 seconds and give you a chance to plug anything you'd like. 60 seconds of everything, Alex. Go.
Thank you. Oh, this is a simple one. Okay. First of all, at slidewinderring.com, just like the slidewinderring.com, all one word. That's our website and our YouTube, it's our YouTube channel too. It's our Instagram channel, but especially if you're an artist and you're looking for an endorsed product, especially if you have a fairly well-known name, we are looking for endorsed artists. We're also looking for investors who would like to put a small amount of money in, see it grow very well, and be part of something really cool. Because we still, for some reason, as much as we have a following, Instagram has a way of kind of like not really promoting you unless you pay extra money and all that stuff, which, we're ready to do. But we could certainly use a little help on the financial side. A silent financial partner with not very much money would be very rewarding for us. It'd be rewarding for our followers, and it would also be rewarding for that person. They'd have to be the right person. They'd have to really understand our product, and they'd have to have a little bit of disposable income. Not much, but that's where we are ready to grow next, for sure.
Amazing. Awesome, Alex. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking the time. It's always a joy. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. Over the internet or in person, you're just an incredible guy, and I really am. I'm fortunate to have to be able to talk to you and have you in my life, man. I really appreciate it.
You know what? You've always seen the same way to me, Johnny. I so appreciate this opportunity. I'm ready anytime you want to do it again. You struck me as a straight up stand-up guy, and I love your art. I love your work, and I love you as a person. So thank you as well.
Right on, man. Well, guys, this has been the What's Your Truth podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one. Later.
Thank you, brother. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, you follow your own rules and you preach them on to me. But you don't think before you act, and you ain't got no business with me. You don't know. But tell me what's your truth? Oh, what's your truth? Now you got down on your